Yeah, just kind of getting realizing that the problems arise from, at least this is how I would word it, obviously, because I haven't read the book, but problems and badness in general arises from sort of a something being in the way or something unharmonic. And so being able to kind of smooth that out or return it to harmony, it stops us from being a kind of like perfectionist. Because if goodness is something you have to seek and achieve, then you can always push harder and harder, and it gets kind of stressful at that point. And I think a lot of people sort of unconsciously are stuck in that loop, given a lot of our moral background and structure in our current society.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that. And I think Rousseau's saying, he seems to be saying something like that.
Hmm.
Um,
When was he writing?
this was in the 1600s. I
Okay.
don't remember specific years. I know, yeah, he mentions, like one of the examples he gives is of this young prodigy, uh, that's that's a little kid at the time. That's kind of the sensation in his world. And then the translator notes he's talking about Mozart. So he's older than Mozart. So
Fair enough. But he was around when Mozart was around, so we're talking that
mm,
like late Renaissance, early Enlightenment kind of
yeah, yeah,
high
he's yeah,
high
early
culture.
modernity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, cool. Do you know anything about his background?
Yeah. Well, so he's Genevan, speaks French also. So he looks often to Geneva as kind of like a modern day Sparta, where it's very independent and full of virtue, kind of strong state. There was some religious wars at that time that I think got him and his father kicked out at some point. And this was a pattern in his life because of his political writings and sort of maybe criticism of the church and things, getting kicked out of a couple of countries, having to flee a few times. Um, but so I think his mother died early in his life and his father raised him, but then he was kind of left or almost neglected or kicked out of the house or something almost by his father by the time he was like a teen. And he ended up kind of wandering around a little bit, being raised by this lady who helped to educate him, but also kind of became his lover later on. This
Oh,
French
wow.
lady, yeah,
All right.
and uh, and then yeah, he was kind of self-educated to some extent. I think he got a religious education, he got a musical education. He's a very talented person. But I think he started his writing career kind of late. He was maybe in his 30s or 40s, and he just happened by chance or something to see this advertisement for um, this writing contest, and the theme that the contestants were to write on was something about the effect of modernity and science or something. Has it's something like maybe has science had an overall positive or negative effect on humanity?
Hmm.
And that was like a turning point in his life, and that really kind of the wheels really started going in his head, and he started his writing career from there and kind of became one of the most famous political philosophers of all time eventually, and very controversial figure. He married a woman who was not literati type person at all. She may have been kind of literate, um, and he 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 also he's very famous for kind of Samuel Johnson said that Rousseau was a very bad man because he abandoned his five kids actually. Like when they were babies, like he just each one of them he just kind of got rid of each of them,
Wow.
uh, put them in the orphanage. But I've read that people generally knew they had a low chance of survival if you kind of put them in an orphanage. It's very bad kind of conditions. But he made his money. He made his money by copying music. He also wrote operas. He wrote something like six operas and one of them remained in the canon for like 100 years. I mean, he's a very, very accomplished person. He ended up in his later life studying and writing about botany. He wrote a series of letters back and forth between an English botanist that ended up becoming like a biology textbook at Cambridge or Oxford or something.
Wow.
So that's just a very rough kind of thing. And then I think he died um, in relatively peaceful circumstances, although it seemed like there was some kind of paranoia about his being pursued by authorities or disloyal friends. He seemed to have some paranoia to his mind, but he was also chased out of countries and things, so there was some basis for that. And then, of course, he had that unstable home life early on in his life. Um, but yeah, I think there's some irony to his death too, where he I think he was walking on a street and there was like a nobleman with his carriage and like this giant Great Dane walking beside it, and then they kind of like pushed him to the side of the road and he ended up falling and hitting his head and getting a hemorrhage and dying from that. So it's just kind of funny that he wrote kind of about equality, political equality, and then he ended up being killed by this sort of accident with this rich nobleman, something.
Yeah, just kind of a the careless rich.
Seemingly, it
Yeah,
it it
yeah,
the image, yeah, the image is of that, yeah, this carriage and this giant dog, this rich people kind of knocking the commoners over, make way. So
yeah,
yeah, but I don't
yeah.
know.
I mean, obviously, the truth of it we'll never know, but
Yeah.
the uh, the mythology of the man is always interesting to investigate.